Have you ever wondered why someone can remain strong and independent well into their 80s, while another person, who seemed equally healthy just a few years earlier, suddenly begins struggling with everyday tasks they once performed effortlessly? The answer often lies not in what they're doing wrong, but in whether they understand and adapt to profound biological changes that happen to every single person around age 75. These aren't gradual continuations of middle-age aging. They're distinct, measurable shifts in how your body functions, and they happen whether you've lived a perfectly healthy life or not. What makes these changes so significant is that they're programmed into human biology. Your genetics, your diet, your exercise habits, none of these prevent these shifts from occurring. But here's the crucial difference between those who thrive past 75 and those who decline rapidly. The people who do well understand what's changing in their bodies and adjust their habits accordingly. They work with their biology instead of fighting against it, or, worse, remaining completely unaware that fundamental changes have occurred. Today, we're going to explore 5 specific biological transformations that happen to everyone at 75. These aren't possibilities or tendencies. They're certainties, backed by extensive research examining how human bodies change at this specific life stage. More importantly, for each transformation, I'm going to explain exactly what you can do to adapt effectively, maintaining your strength, independence, and quality of life despite these inevitable changes. The first transformation involves something you do every single night but might not realize is changing dramatically: your sleep architecture. Sleep isn't just one continuous state. It cycles through different stages throughout the night, including light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep, where dreaming occurs. Deep sleep, also called slow-wave sleep, is when your body performs its most intensive repair work. Growth hormone releases during deep sleep, stimulating tissue repair. Your brain consolidates memories and clears out metabolic waste products that accumulated during the day. Your immune system strengthens itself. At age 75, deep sleep decreases by up to 70% compared to young adulthood. This isn't insomnia. You might still sleep 7 or 8 hours, but the quality and restorative power of that sleep diminishes substantially. At the same time, your brain's production of melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep-wake cycles, drops by roughly 15% each year after 70. Your circadian rhythm, your internal biological clock, shifts earlier by 2 to 3 hours. You naturally become sleepier earlier in the evening and wake earlier in the morning, whether you want to or not. You also experience something called sleep fragmentation. Your sleep becomes interrupted by brief awakenings, sometimes 15 to 20 times per night, though you might not consciously remember most of them. These micro-awakenings prevent you from staying in the deeper, more restorative sleep stages for extended periods. The result is that even if you're in bed for 8 hours, you might only be getting the restorative equivalent of 5 or 6 hours of quality sleep. Understanding this change is crucial because it prevents frustration and helps you adapt effectively. If you're 75 and finding that you naturally feel tired by 8 in the evening and wake at 5 in the morning, that's not a problem to fix. That's your biology's new normal. Fighting it by forcing yourself to stay up later or trying to sleep later in the morning often backfires, leaving you sleep-deprived and exhausted. Instead, honor your body's new rhythm. Go to bed when you feel genuinely sleepy. Wake when your body naturally wakes. If you wake during the night, don't panic or become frustrated. Engage in a quiet, calming activity for 20 or 30 minutes until you feel sleepy again. Keep your bedroom cool, between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit, which supports the body's natural temperature drop during sleep. Get bright light exposure in the morning, which helps regulate your circadian rhythm. Consider your sleep in terms of quality and how you feel during the day, rather than obsessing over total hours. Many people at 75 function beautifully on what might be considered fragmented sleep by younger standards, as long as they're adapting to their body's new patterns rather than fighting them. The second biological shift involves temperature regulation, and this one can be genuinely dangerous if you're not aware of it. Your hypothalamus, the brain region responsible for regulating body temperature, loses approximately 20% of its temperature-sensitive neurons by age 75. At the same time, your sweat glands decrease in number by about 40% and become less responsive to temperature changes. The layer of insulating fat just beneath your skin thins by roughly 30%. Your metabolic rate, which generates body heat, drops by approximately 20%. All of these changes mean your body becomes significantly less capable of maintaining stable internal temperature. You might not feel hot when you're actually dangerously overheated. You might not shiver when you're becoming hypothermic. Your thirst sensation, which normally helps prevent overheating through adequate hydration, becomes unreliable. Research shows that after 75, heat stroke hospitalizations increase by 300% compared to younger age groups, and this happens to people who don't realize they're in danger because they don't feel particularly hot. The same problem occurs with cold. Your body becomes less efficient at generating heat and less aware when your core temperature is dropping. Hypothermia can develop at indoor temperatures that would be merely cool and uncomfortable for younger people, but dangerous for someone over 75 whose temperature regulation system isn't functioning properly. The solution is creating controlled environments and being intentional about temperature management. Keep your home temperature between 68 and 74 degrees year-round. Don't try to save money on heating or cooling at the expense of your safety. Stay hydrated throughout the day regardless of whether you feel thirsty, drinking water at regular intervals. Dress in layers so you can adjust your personal temperature easily. Avoid prolonged exposure to temperature extremes, whether hot or cold. If outdoor temperatures exceed 75 degrees or drop below 40 degrees, limit your time outside or ensure you have ways to regulate your body temperature through shade, air conditioning, appropriate clothing, or warming stations. This isn't being overly cautious. This is adapting to the reality that your internal thermostat no longer works as reliably as it once did. Understanding this protects you from serious medical emergencies that can develop before you even realize you're in danger. The third transformation affects your digestive system in ways that significantly impact nutrition, comfort, and overall health. Starting at 75, several changes occur simultaneously. The coordinated muscle contractions that move food through your esophagus become weaker and less coordinated, decreasing in efficiency by about 50%. This means swallowing becomes slower and occasionally more difficult, and food takes longer to travel from your mouth to your stomach. Your saliva production decreases by roughly 40%, which affects both the initial breakdown of food and your ability to swallow comfortably. Your stomach's production of hydrochloric acid declines by about 30%, reducing your ability to break down proteins and absorb certain nutrients like vitamin B12, iron, and calcium. The surface area of your small intestine decreases as the tiny finger-like projections, called villi, that absorb nutrients, shrink by approximately 25%. Your pancreas produces about 40% fewer digestive enzymes. And perhaps most noticeable for many people, the muscular contractions that move waste through your colon slow dramatically, with transit time increasing from a normal 30 to 40 hours to sometimes over 100 hours, which leads to chronic constipation. These changes mean that even if you're eating a healthy diet, your body may not be extracting and absorbing nutrients as efficiently as it once did. You might feel bloated or uncomfortable after meals that wouldn't have bothered you previously. You might struggle with constipation despite adequate fiber and fluid intake. You might experience occasional difficulty swallowing or feel like food sits heavily in your stomach. Adapting to these changes requires adjusting not just what you eat, but how and when you eat. Smaller, more frequent meals work better than 3 large meals because they don't overwhelm your slower digestive system. Aim for 5 smaller meals throughout the day, each containing perhaps 400 to 500 calories, rather than 3 meals of 700 to 800 calories. Chew your food thoroughly, aiming for roughly 30 chews per bite, which compensates for reduced saliva production and gives your weaker esophageal muscles an easier job. Consider digestive enzyme supplements with meals, which can help compensate for reduced pancreatic enzyme production. Many people notice significant reduction in bloating and discomfort when they add these. Include probiotic-rich foods like yogurt, kefir or fermented vegetables to support healthy gut bacteria, which become increasingly important for digestion as your own digestive capacity diminishes. Stay well hydrated throughout the day, which supports every aspect of digestion, from saliva production to preventing constipation. The fourth biological shift affects something most people don't think much about until it becomes a problem: balance and stability. Your ability to maintain balance depends on three systems working together seamlessly. Your vestibular system in your inner ear senses head position and movement. Proprioceptors in your muscles and joints sense body position. And your vision provides information about your environment and spatial orientation. At 75, all three systems decline significantly and simultaneously. Your vestibular sensory cells decrease by approximately 40%. The proprioceptors in your muscles and joints decline by about 50%. Your vision's ability to detect contrast decreases by 60%, and depth perception declines by 40%. Even more critically, the speed at which your brain processes information from these three systems and coordinates motor responses slows by roughly 70%. Your ankle muscles, which are crucial for making the small, rapid adjustments that keep you balanced, lose about 40% of their strength. The combined effect is that your body becomes significantly less capable of detecting when you're off balance and responding quickly enough to prevent a fall. A younger person might step on an uneven surface, detect the problem instantly, and make a lightning-fast correction without conscious thought. At 75, your body detects the problem more slowly, processes the information more slowly, and responds more slowly, which means situations that would be minor stumbles for younger people become serious fall risks. This doesn't mean falls are inevitable or that you should become sedentary out of fear. It means you need to be strategic. First, understand that balance can be improved with specific training. Studies show that Tai Chi, which emphasizes controlled movement, weight shifting, and balance challenges, reduces fall risk by 45% in people over 75. Balance exercises that specifically challenge proprioception, like standing on one foot or walking heel to toe, rebuild some of the lost capability. Dual task training, where you practice balancing while simultaneously performing a cognitive task like counting backward, trains your brain to maintain balance even when attention is divided, which reflects real-life situations. Environmental modifications matter enormously. Improve lighting throughout your home, especially in hallways, staircases, and bathrooms. Remove tripping hazards like loose rugs or cluttered pathways. Wear shoes with good support and low heels, even indoors. Install grab bars in bathrooms and along staircases. These aren't signs of giving up independence. They're intelligent adaptations that allow you to remain independent safely. The fifth transformation is perhaps the most impactful for overall health and independence: the acceleration of muscle loss into what researchers call sarcopenia overdrive. Muscle loss begins gradually in middle age, but at 75, it shifts into a much more rapid decline. You lose approximately 3 to 5% of your muscle mass each year, compared to 1 to 2% annually in your 60s. But it's not just the rate of loss that changes. The mechanisms driving muscle loss become more complex and harder to counteract. Your satellite cells, which are essentially stem cells for muscle tissue that repair and rebuild muscle fibers after use, decline by approximately 70%. This means even when you exercise or use your muscles, your body's capacity to repair and build those muscles diminishes dramatically. The specific muscle fibers that give you power and speed, called type 2 or fast twitch fibers, decline most rapidly, while the slower endurance fibers are relatively preserved. This means you lose strength and power faster than you lose endurance. Your motor neurons, the nerve cells that signal muscles to contract, begin dying without being replaced. When a motor neuron dies, the muscle fibers it controlled either die or get adopted by neighboring motor neurons, creating larger, less efficient motor units. Your production of growth hormone and insulin-like growth factor, both crucial for muscle maintenance, declines by 80% or more. Inflammatory markers in your blood increase by up to 300%, and chronic inflammation actively breaks down muscle tissue. Your muscles' mitochondria, the cellular power plants that produce energy, decrease in number by about 50% and become 30% less efficient. Even your ability to use protein to build muscle changes. At 75, your muscles become more resistant to the muscle-building signals from protein intake. Where a younger person might build muscle effectively from 20 grams of protein at a meal, you might need 30 or more grams to achieve the same effect. And the protein needs to include adequate amounts of the amino acid leucine, which specifically triggers muscle protein synthesis. All of this creates a perfect storm for rapid muscle loss. And muscle loss affects far more than just strength. Muscle is metabolically active tissue that helps regulate blood sugar. Muscle supports joints and protects bones. Muscle stores amino acids that your immune system needs during illness. Loss of muscle mass is one of the strongest predictors of disability, loss of independence, and mortality in older adults. But here's the crucial point. While this biological shift is inevitable, the degree of muscle loss you experience is not. With proper intervention, you can significantly slow the process and even rebuild some lost muscle. This requires being strategic and intentional in ways you might not have needed to be at younger ages. Protein intake becomes critical. Aim for approximately 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily, spread across your meals rather than concentrated in one. Each meal should contain 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein with at least 3 grams of leucine. Good sources include eggs, Greek yogurt, fish, poultry, lean meat, and plant-based proteins like beans and lentils combined with whole grains. Exercise remains crucial but needs to be adapted. Resistance training, using weights or resistance bands, or even just body weight, provides the stimulus your muscles need to maintain mass. But at 75, you need longer recovery time between sessions. Where younger people might exercise the same muscle groups daily, you need at least 72 hours between resistance sessions for the same muscle groups. Morning exercise tends to work better because that's when protein synthesis capability is highest. And exercise intensity matters more than duration. Even short sessions of 15 to 20 minutes with appropriate resistance can be highly effective if done consistently. These 5 biological shifts: sleep architecture changes, impaired temperature regulation, digestive system slowdown, balance system decline, and accelerated muscle loss happen to everyone at 75. They're not punishments for poor choices or signs of personal failure. They're built into human biology, the result of cellular and systemic changes that occur at this life stage. The people who continue thriving past 75 aren't the ones who somehow avoided these changes. They're the ones who understood what was happening in their bodies and adjusted their habits accordingly. If you're approaching 75 or have already passed it, take inventory of how these 5 changes might be affecting you. Are you fighting your body's new sleep rhythm instead of working with it? Are you ignoring temperature regulation needs? Are you still eating the same way you did at 60, not realizing your digestive system has fundamentally changed? Are you avoiding balance challenges out of fear rather than strategically working to improve balance? Are you losing muscle mass because you haven't adapted your protein intake and exercise approach to your body's new requirements? Knowledge is power, but only when that knowledge translates into action. Share this information with others in your life who are navigating this life stage. Leave a comment telling us which of these 5 shifts you've noticed most prominently and what adaptations you're going to implement. Subscribe to our channel for more evidence-based information on aging well and maintaining independence throughout your later years. And most importantly, approach these biological realities with neither fear nor denial, but with informed strategy. Your body at 75 is different from your body at 65. That's not failure. That's biology. The question is whether you'll work with that biology or against it. The people who make informed adjustments based on understanding these 5 fundamental shifts are the ones who remain strong, independent, and vital well into their 80s and beyond. That can be you. Starting today,